Now, as I said, it's one thing to wish Biden well, express sorrow for his cancer. I want to talk about that in a second. But, you can wish him well. You can say, cancer is terrible, which of course it is. It devastates a lot of people's lives. So thoughts and prayers with Biden. But at the same time, you can insist on an investigation as to whether this cover-up of his cognitive decline, who was involved with that, who in the media happened. Of course, all that needs to be understood. That's a major scandal. And now in making this announcement, which seems like it would distract from that investigation, it actually worsened it all because even Biden's allies are saying, wait, did he also conceal that he has malignant cancer? Terminal cancer with a pretty short lifespan? I mean, it can be up to, I guess, 3 years, 5, but I mean, it can be very short too. And yet, right away, the worst scumbags on the planet, the worst Democrats, immediately popped up and said, look, Joe Biden has cancer. Our sympathy should be only with him. And so I think it's time that we set aside all these investigations into whether we in the media and we in the Democratic Party concealed this from the public, that the president was basically cognitively impaired and couldn't do his job. Because it also, by the way, has a big question with it, which is if Biden couldn't perform the job, who was running the U.S. government? I was asking that all throughout 2023 and 2024, like who's making these momentous decisions to send military forces and assets to the Middle East, to fund the war in Ukraine? Like who's doing all this if the president isn't? Who decided to issue pardons and to whom? Who was running the government? We know Kamala wasn't. She was out campaigning every day. All these are major scandals, and they know this. And so look at what they're trying to do to say, you need to stop looking at all this. Here's David Axelrod yesterday on CNN.
His medical condition now, his announced medical condition now, do you believe that silences or delays a lot of conversations about his, last year and a half of his presidency for now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those conversations are going to happen, but they should be more muted and set aside for now as he's struggling through this.
You got that? It's fine to wonder about all this stuff, these gigantic historical scandals, but I think it should be very muted, in fact, set aside out of respect for Joe Biden's health. These people are feigning concern for Joe Biden as a means of announcing to the country that any attempt to continue to look into these issues. And Joe Biden's not even the villain. The villain are the people who around him who concealed his cognitive decline in the media and the Democratic Party and the White House to enable him to win by lying to the American people. It's not Joe Biden who's the target of this investigation. It's all the people around him who lied. So it's not like the principal attack is on Biden, but David Axelrod pops up and says, look, we're all very sad. I'm going to try and exploit the emotions around Biden's cancer diagnosis to say, you know what, it's time to put this to the side. And then the Democratic leader of the leader of the Democratic caucus, the minority leader in the House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries, was asked about these issues, and he was even more explicit about, like, look, anyone who even asks these questions in light of Joe Biden's illness is despicable. Listen to what he said.
Thank you, sir. Given the revelations with President Biden's cancer diagnosis and the release of the Her recording, why were Democrats not more open to talking about President Biden's age in 2024?
My thoughts and prayers have been extended to President Biden. It's a painful moment for him and his family. It's a very serious diagnosis. My expectation that President Biden is going to meet this moment with the courage and resilience that he's consistently shown. It seems to me entirely inappropriate that at this moment in time, when President Biden is dealing with a serious and aggressive form of cancer. There are Republicans who are peddling conspiracy theories and want us to look backward at a time when they actually are taking health care away from the American people. No, as House Democrats, we're going to look forward. They literally are trying to take health care away from millions of Americans at this very moment in the dead of night. And Republicans want to fan the flames of conspiracy theories at this moment? No, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leader.
Okay, so can you believe how despicable that is? How blatant and brazen it is? That is, this idea, people in Washington say this all the time when they get caught doing very guilty things, when they get caught doing terrible things. They're like, you know what? Why look backward? That was in the past, all that stuff we did. It's like 6 months ago. Well, why do you want to look backward? We have so many challenges to face that we should be looking to the future, forward. That was what President Obama said when he ran on a campaign saying he was open to prosecution to people who tortured as part of the war on terror, who illegally eavesdropped on Americans with no warrants. And then as soon as he gets into office, he immunizes all of them, despite him saying it's going to be a real investigation. They're not above the law. If the Attorney General finds they're guilty, they should be prosecuted. Within a month, he's like, none of them are going to be convicted or prosecuted or investigated, even though I spent the campaign saying so. And the reason is because we have so many challenges to face as a country, it's time to look forward, not backward. Think how manipulative that is. Every single conviction of somebody for committing a crime, every single investigation of wrongdoing or scandal, by definition, requires looking to the past. Every single person who's in prison in the United States, and there are millions, are there because the police and prosecutors and courts and juries decided to look backward. That's where you look when you want to investigate somebody's wrongdoing. You have to look in the past because by definition, it occurred in the past. And then to just so performatively emote out of concern and love and sadness for Joe Biden when your real purpose is to exploit the natural feelings people have around cancer in order to shield yourself and your colleagues and your media allies and your party from an investigation. And it also, not just this book, but also Biden's deposition with the special prosecutor, Robert Hur, who was investigating whether Biden committed crimes by keeping classified documents strewn around his garage at a time that he had already left the vice presidency. Same thing they prosecuted President Trump for doing. And then last year, Robert Hur came out and said, we're not going to prosecute President Biden. And obviously people wanted to know the answer, like the explanation. Why aren't you prosecuting him when Trump got prosecuted? And he said in his deposition, Biden revealed that he basically is gone. Like he doesn't remember anything. He just his brain doesn't know anything. He doesn't know the dates of basic things. And he said the jury will never believe that he formed the proper intent to commit a crime because his brain is not functioning. He's just an old man with memory problems. And the Democrats went ballistic, attacked him, and then the audio finally got released. The Democrats refused to release the audio when they were in power, and now it's released, and it's so much worse when you listen to this audio. Just like an old man who can't even process the question, who starts rambling, telling stories, forgetting the people he's talking about, forgetting the dates, stopping in mid-sentence. I mean, seriously, it's sad that all these people propped him up when he was just belongs in a nursing home. And so, of course, this has to be looked to. And now these people are trying to exploit the emotions around Joe Biden to say, no, it's disrespectful. The only thing we should be doing is praying for Joe Biden. How dare you take a look at this? I mean, that takes a sociopathic mindset to so brazenly exploit somebody's health problems and emotions around it to shield yourself from investigation for the wrongdoing that you engaged in. I mean, that you can't have a soul and do that. So let me just say one last thing about the sympathy that is merited for Joe Biden, if any. Now, I personally think that you should never root for anybody's sickness or death, because I just think it erodes your soul to do that, erodes your spirit to do that. I don't take pride in anybody's death. I don't take pleasure in anybody's death. But it's fine. People think differently about that. So I'm not going to ever celebrate someone's cancer diagnosis, no matter who it is. Like if Netanyahu came out today and tomorrow and said, oh, I have terminal brain cancer, I wouldn't celebrate this publicly. I wouldn't pretend I'm lamenting it, but I wouldn't celebrate it publicly. I just don't think it's a good idea. And I get, people are affected by cancer. They have family members who have died. They're traumatized by cancer. They hear cancer. They want to express solidarity with someone who has it. I totally get that instinct, that emotion. I certainly would never deny anybody that. But there is this inconsistency, this sort of double standard in the discourse, which is President Biden announces he has cancer. Nobody can say like it's karma or he deserves it or whatever. Nobody can point to the fact that literally the day before he announced it, the Israelis bombed the last cancer hospital in Gaza, which had been treating 10,000 cancer patients, which was Biden's policy to arm and enable that. So he has cancer, he gets the best treatment. The people of Gaza don't even have a hospital to go to. And if you say that, people are going to say, how dare you? You're being like disgusting. How can you politicize cancer? But just imagine if, say, like Vladimir Putin announced he had terminal, like pancreatic cancer, or the Iranian Ayatollah, or just whoever's most hated. I remember when Hugo Chavez, who a lot of people in the West hated, I'll stay away from that, but he was certainly popular in his country among the country's poor, that's for sure. But he wasn't obedient to the West. The West hated Hugo Chavez. And when he announced he had serious health problems, he had cancer, he was getting treated in Cuba, there was all kinds of celebration. When he died, people in the West openly celebrated. So a lot of people have watched Joe Biden over the last year and a half provide the arms and money and funding to the Israelis and the diplomatic cover and the cheerleading to destroy Gaza, to commit ethnic cleansing and genocide. Is there no evaluation of somebody's behavior, of someone's character, before deciding if they merit sympathy? Again, I don't think celebrating cancer is ever, for me at least, justifiable. Other people can make their own decisions, but we do often celebrate people's illness, celebrate their death, when we think they're sufficiently bad people. Obviously, everybody celebrated Osama bin Laden's death. People marched in the street to say, USA, USA. Like celebrating the extinguishing of that life because they thought he was sufficiently evil to merit that. Same with Putin, same with Iranian leaders, whoever. Maduro, if he got cancer or died of a heart attack tomorrow, nobody would lament it in the West. Everybody would celebrate it. And so it can't just be that American presidents are immunized from that same framework. Like if you're going to say, oh yeah, I'm happy this person got cancer, I'm happy this person died, if you're the person who wants to do that, then you can't exempt American presidents. They're not inherently benevolent people. They do some really awful and terrible things. And this kind of demand that everybody express sadness or prayers for or solidarity with Joe Biden. I just named one thing that he did. His whole career he's done. He voted for the Iraq War. He cheerled the Iraq War, every war basically. He's brought bloodshed and destruction all over the world, responsible for the deaths of huge numbers of people. So either we take the position that all human life is sacred and we should always want its preservation and never celebrate its extinguishing, or we should take the position that we only lament somebody's sickness and death if they were a good person, and we either stay quiet or cheerlead it if they're sufficiently bad. But it can't be, you can't pick and choose between these standards. But it's a very tribal thing to say, oh yeah, we can do that for foreign leaders, but American presidents, no matter what they did, no matter how terrible they are, they still are inherently good people and therefore deserve this kind of respect and solidarity when they get sick that other people who we think worse of wouldn't get. It's always interesting, this discourse that emerges when somebody dies and whether you can celebrate it, say they're a bad person, whether you're duty bound to be solemn about it. People switch very quickly and just 180 degrees based on what they think of the person. So I think it's worth thinking in this case, if you're somebody who believes in that, to think about who Joe Biden really was, what he's done, and the impact that he has had on the world. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.